let's get across to Honorable Oluwale, who is the Chairman House Committee on Public Accounts. He joins us this morning from our Abuja studios. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today on the program. But, you know, while all of this was going on, then questions are being asked of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, and many wonder, whoa, what informed this in the first place? Did you suspect something was going wrong?
Come again?
What informed this questioning of the PTF on COVID-19 in the first place?
Well, the Constitution gave powers to the Auditor General of the Federation to conduct periodic checks on the activities of MDAs. You know, aside the annual auditing of their financial records. And from my experience, we find out that by the time their reports or findings get to the Parliament, most of the actors may have retired or even some dead. And then the Parliament find it extremely difficult to discharge, our duties. So we decided to, since we're in an emergency situation anyway, we decided to ask the PTF, questions what they have done with the funds released to them so far. You know, so we asked them to come and tell the Parliament, the funds released to you, what have you done with it? And so they came, they made their submissions.
It's informed in part by how the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs had conducted things concerning those packages that they were distributing to people.
The Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs will be appearing, with all the agencies under the ministry will be appearing today.
Okay, so, but from the questions, from the feedback you got, the answers you got from those who appeared yesterday, it appeared as though the committee did say there was still some missing link.
Yes, you know, often than none.
Go ahead,
even
please.
When this government is the luckiest government, because they enjoy a kind of support from both chambers of the National Assembly, because the ruling party have simple majority both in the Senate and the House of Representatives. And aside that, we also support our colleagues, the government of the day, because we felt that we should put politics apart. When government perform very well, the entire citizens, would benefit. And so, we decided to, work, somebody that you work and you pass the person, and at the end of the day, you have to wait for the person. You know, there's an adage in Yoruba land that if you pass somebody you should work with, and then have to start waiting for the person ahead, then a lot of things will be wasted. So we try to walk along, particularly under this pandemic situation. It's a new thing. I have not experienced it before. Even when you talk about Ebola, I don't think it's as bad as this. So it's very unique situation in which we find ourselves, and we have to discharge the duty of care with all Nigerians.
Mm. Well, one wonders if they are working alone or if they agree to work with the committee. But were you satisfied with the answers you got yesterday?
To be very sincere, we are not. And we asked them to come back next week, Monday. But let me submit that the DG of NCDC made a very good presentation, a detailed presentation. But we need to also, for example, he got 5 points 5.6 billion. He had utilized 1.2 billion. And then we now begin to ask that, okay, under an emergency situation, if you ask for X, Y, Z, and you got this quantum of money, and by the grace of God with prayers, if the situation, drops, I mean, if the virus is flattened and nothing happens, that means you return the money back to the treasury. But in accounting parlance, I checked him. I warned him that perhaps you may have committed these resources. So if you have committed these resources in terms of contracts being awarded, it simply means that the 4.4 billion naira in principle might not actually be there, which he agreed to. So based on that, we asked him to come back to give us an holistic position of what they have done with with the balance of 4.4 billion naira. So, but in the case of foreign affairs, the insinuation that maybe the ministry was also collecting money for beddings, for feeding of evacuees of the returnees, it was made clear yesterday that there was nothing like that, that they only paid for their tickets from the various parts of the world that they were evacuated from. But as per accommodation during the isolation period, it was bought by the federal government.
Well,
for the Ministry of Health,
please go ahead.
They are also coming back because the PAMSEC came without any detailed submission. Some of our colleagues were wondering why the ministers were not there. But you see, we drew their attention to provision of Section 20 of Public Procurement Act that made the permanent secretary the chief accounting officers of the various ministries. And that section of the law states clearly that it shall be immaterial whether the PAMSEC, delegates a person or group of persons. In case of any infraction, the PAMSEC will be personally liable. So there's no point wasting our time waiting for any minister to come and talk to us. So the person we had business with is the chief accounting officer, and they were all present.
Well, we'll take a break now, but just before then, when was the money appropriated by the National Assembly for COVID-19?
Well, like when we passed the 2020 budget, there was nothing, COVID-19 was not in sight, nobody was aware, so there wasn't any line item appropriated for COVID-19.
We understand that there was a supplementary budget. I thought there was a supplementary budget of sorts that the Minister of Finance was supposed to present. Was that approved? I thought that was in line with COVID-19.
Yes, we have that before us. It came in form of a review of the 2020 budget, which I can assure you, maybe today or Thursday, that it will see the light of the day.
Okay, just give us a few more minutes. We'll be back and wrap up this in just a moment. Stay with us.
Thanks for staying with us. We still have Honorable Oke in our Abuja studio. Honorable, well, the response you gave to the question the other time, does that mean that there is no budget for COVID-19 as anyone that the National Assembly approved? Is that what you're saying?
What I said was that when Mr. President laid 2020 budget estimates in 2019, there wasn't anything like COVID-19 pandemic. So nobody anticipated that, so it didn't feature in the approved 2020 budget. But when we had the emergency situation, there were expenditure decisions made by the executive. Of course, they have the window, the law is very flexible. They have the window to do so, and they can actually come back to the parliament, to seek approval, ratification, and which I believe they engaged, the leadership of the parliament engaged them. You can say that during the lockdown, Our leaders were meeting virtually every day with the members of the executive, the finance minister, the health minister, and all that. So thereafter, we also had a very bad experience regarding the price of the crude oil, which formed the major, if not about 90% of our source of earning in the budget. So this also affected funds that has accrued or accruable to the nation. So the Minister of Finance, constantly briefed the Parliament about the financial situation. You can also see that there were plans to borrow externally and also internally to finance the budget. All these things were put together under a committee headed by Vice President on the executive arm. But the bottom line is that they have submitted the 2020 reviewed 2020 budget as reviewed. It's with us in the Parliament. It has gone through the first and the second leg, and then we expect the reports of the House Committee of Supply, that is House Committee on Appropriation. And I can tell you that they'll be laying that report today, and I think by Thursday it should be passed by both chambers, and they're probably going to conference and then submit the bill back to Mr. President for his assent.
Okay, if there is no budget specifically for PTF COVID-19, so what exactly is your committee probing? Is it 83 billion naira or 28 billion naira that the Office of the Accountant General said that COVID gathered, or 22 billion naira, another figure that is being bandied around? Which exactly is your committee probing?
The budget proposal, based on the submission of the Permanent Secretary Ministry of Health, that they had a budget proposal of 83 billion naira for the PTF, and that, but they eventually got, what they got in their own budget, their 2020 budget as approved ab initio was 2.4 billion naira. And that he, being an experienced permanent secretary, refused to wire the money for other purposes until he has gotten the consent of the Parliament, which is in order, But we are under an emergency situation. But one thing we shouldn't forget is that there were donations. There were donations that we had from corporate bodies, from individuals and all that, even from World Health Organization. So we are looking at, okay, we have been very careful about all these donations we're hearing about. What is this? Where are the money? What is happening to them? And we shouldn't forget that when Nigeria receives donation, it does not belong to the federal government alone. It belongs to all the 3 tiers of government. And so it should undergo the normal, appropriation window pursuant to Section 8081. So, and I think the federal government is complying with that. So, but like I've told you, we are looking at the angles of periodic checks to see that these funds that are available, what has gone, what is happening to it, so that we're on top of it. We shouldn't wait until when the actors must have quitted the stage and then you start asking questions. Then, you will have lost the opportunity of ensuring efficient and prudent management of our resources.
So what did you find yesterday? Have the donations been accounted for?
From the submission of the chairman of PTF, represented, that is the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, represented by the Permanent Secretary General Services, Mr. Adekunle, from his presentation, we can say that the sum of 22.1 billion naira was released to the PTF. And out of the 22.1 billion naira, only 164 million has been utilized. and it was used to take care of the evacuees, of the returnees from Nigeria. I think it was used to take care of their accommodation in various hotels, and then some for some procurement of PPE and all that. So you see, the PTF is a multifaceted committee. You have the Ministry of Internal Affairs, you have the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, you have the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, you have NCDC, Ministry of Health, the ports, health inspectors. They also got some money, 71 million naira. So these were our findings. But like I told you earlier, that we're not satisfied with the way and manner the presentation were made. Some of them were orals, and you can't change. We wanted a written submission because you can't change the content of written documents by oral narration. I must give this to the DG of the Nigerian Center for Disease Control. His presentation was handsome as himself. He looks very handsome. His presentation was also very handsome. So, but the devils is usually in the details. So we asked them to give supporting documents so that we can validate their claims in their submission.
Well, that's a very fine place to put in this question. You've mentioned a number of figures, 71 million, 164 million, 83 billion, 21 point something billion. I don't know if you can give us a specific figure as to how much exactly your committee is probing in total.
See, the one probe, when you say probe, that word should be used carefully. At this stage, we are not probing. At this stage, we are not probing.
Honorable, just one moment. I understand. Just one moment. I understand that the word probe has different meanings, but the word probe in English language just means simply to ask questions, and it's in the context that I'm asking. So, what exact figure is your committee asking question? Yes.
You see, the government, whether you're a member of the executive or the legislature or the judiciary, we're all Nigerians. The three arms of government is under the same government. So we must, synergize. So what we are looking at for now is that we are taking notes from them. We want to know what has happened to the funds that you have collected. Audit work is post-mortem. Okay, you've collected X, Y, Z. What have you done with the money? It is through this engagement that we discover that, yes, XYZ sum of money has been released to the PTF, and PTF has also given the money to some of the ministries, agencies that are working under the PTF. And so what have you done with the money? And they began to explain to us. Until and except we have the final document we asked them to come with, on the 15th of this month, which is next week, Monday, the only gentleman we didn't see yesterday and that we were worried about was the Accountant General, who should have given us his own position so that we can, we can now check the submission, the opinion of the other ministries and agencies that appeared yesterday. We're not happy about it, and we made a resolution, and before the end of yesterday, after work, after we had adjourned, I think the auditor, the Accountant General of the Federation, brought his submission. So we would take his submission along with our findings from the submission made by PTF, and then if we see any wrongdoing, then your position as per probing may commence. Probing is not a friendly, it's not as if it's alien to us, but it's not as friendly as people should expect. And you only do so when you have actually perceived wrongdoing. But by calling them, I can assure you, even if there's an element, if there's going to be any wrongdoing, it will be nipped in the bud, because the Parliament is up and doing.
Okay, from the submissions, from what you've said, of all those who appeared yesterday, You've spoken glowingly of only the DG of NCDC, so that suggests that he's the only one that the team seems to be happy with at the moment, and others will be expected to return monies. Is that correct?
To understand the way they are operating, they had budget for infrastructure, and they have budget for health operations. So, for example, when you look at the mandate of the Center for Disease Control, it's not the person undertaking the usual test that you go to Federal Medical Center to go and check, to go and conduct it. Because we asked him, are you the person conducting tests and all that? He said no. He said that is being done in various, both at the state level and in various in various health institutions across the nation, which of course that's under Federal Ministry of Health. So it is Federal Ministry of Health that we expect to bring a comprehensive write-up submission, to us, so that we can see what they have done with the quantum of money that has been given to them, either before COVID-19 period or during. So we are waiting for the Ministry of Health to bring their submission come next week, Monday, the 15th of June.
Okay, then, so that means today will be the turn of the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, as you have highlighted. All right, we do thank you for your time, Honorable Oluwole Hoke, Chairman, House Committee on Public Accounts.
Thank you, my brother.